Thank you very much. Let me welcome all of you and let me officially open these celebrations of the inauguration of the academic year 2023-2024 at the University of Warsaw. Please take your seats. Now I have the force to bang the table to confirm the opening of the celebration. Let me welcome all of you wholeheartedly, each and every one of you. It is a great honor for all of us to be able to talk to you today at this wonderful ceremony, the ceremony of youth, the ceremony of joy, because this is the most beautiful part of the university, the one related to the future. The youth are with us. The youth are watching us online as well. On my behalf and on behalf of the whole academic community of the University of Warsaw and all of the rectors, let me welcome, as tradition tells us, Professor Hieronim Grala from Artes Liberales faculty. He will be delivering the inauguration lecture today. Welcome, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, the last three inaugurations featured speakers from beyond the university. We had two lectures, inauguration lectures, related to medicine, and one of them was related to artificial intelligence. Medicine, we know that there have been very fast developments recently. We know that artificial intelligence has a strong position within the university already. And especially in the current circumstances, it is important for all of us to see how all of us, including the speaker, to see what kind of perspective we have now on what is happening in the world beyond our eastern border and in other places. This is what the lecture will be devoted to. Let me welcome marshal of the same, speaker of the same, Włodzimierz Czarzasty. Let me also extend a very warm welcome to Professor Marcin Wiącek, the Ombudsman. A warm welcome to the representative of the Minister of Education and Science, Sławomir Adamiec, Director General. Let me extend a warm welcome to the representative of the Minister of Health, Under Secretary of State, Marcin Martyniak. I also welcome the President of the Patent Office of the Republic of Poland, Edyta Dęby-Siwek. So far, all of the persons I have welcomed are graduates of this university. Even more so, I extend very warm welcome to all of them. Let me welcome the President of the Criminal Chamber of the Supreme Court, Zbigniew Kapiński. Let me welcome the Deputy Ombudsman, Dr. Valery Waczew. A warm welcome to the Chairman of the Mazowian Regional Assembly, Ludwik Rakowski. Let me welcome Deputy Mayor of Warsaw. Excellent collaboration with the Deputy Mayor and the City of Warsaw. Let me welcome Renata Kaznowska. Let me also welcome the Mazovian Provincial Conservator of Monuments and Heritage Buildings, Professor Jakub Lewicki. A warm welcome to the Director of the Marshal's Office of the Mazovian Voivodeship, Waldemar Kuliński. A warm welcome to the Director of the Royal Castle in Warsaw, Professor Wojciech Fałkowski. Let me also welcome Professor Andrzej Rzepliński, former President of the Constitutional Court in Poland. Let me also welcome the President of PZU SA, Renata Kazowska-Hyła. Let me welcome the President of the Social Security Institution, Gertruda Uścińska. Let me also welcome Leszek Skiba, the President of the Management Board of PKO SA Bank. Let me welcome the President of the Management Board of Jastrzębska Spółka Węglowa SA, Tomasz Cudny. Let me also welcome the President of the Management Board of the Foundation of the Promotional Emblem Teraz Polska, Krzysztof Przybył. Let me welcome Jarosław Wicztok, Vice President of Energa Wytwarzanie SA. Let me welcome Maria Bogiel, President of the Brudnowski Hospital in Warsaw. And also Artur Krawczyk, President of the Management Board of Warsaw Southern Hospital. Let me welcome Dr. Michał Kurzelewski, Medical Director of Pfizer Poland. I would like to welcome very warmly the ambassadors extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassadors accredited in Poland and the following representatives of diplomatic missions to the ceremony. Let me welcome His Excellency the Ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Mr. Saad Saleh Al Saleh. Let me welcome His Excellency the Ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Dr. Hossein Gharibi. Also, His Excellency the Ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Mr. Luis Adolfo Gomez Urdaneta. And also the Ambassador of Peru, Hubert Veland Olroy. Let me welcome Attaché for University Cooperation from the University of France, Jean-Louis Schneider. Let me welcome the Director of the Education Department of the Taipei Representative Office, Mrs. Mei Fen Chen. Let me welcome the representatives of churches and religious associations operating in Poland. His Excellency Bishop Michał Janocha of the Archdiocese of Warsaw. Let me welcome Reverend Dr. Doroteusz Sawicki and Reverend Dr. Tomasz Stempa from the Polish Autocephalous Orthodox Church. Let me welcome the chairperson of the Board of the Jewish Religious Community in Warsaw, Sylwia Kędzierska-Jasik. Very warm welcome to President of the General Council for Science and Higher Education, Professor Marcin Pałys, former Rector of the University of Warsaw. Let me welcome Jacek Orł, the Director of the National Center for Research and Development. A warm welcome to Professor Maciej Żylicz, the President of the Board of the Foundation for Polish Science. Let me welcome Lieutenant General Professor Grzegorz Gielerak, Director of the Military Medical Institute. Let me also welcome Professor Józef Lubacz, Director of the Institute for Problems of Contemporary Civilization. A very, very warm welcome to my colleagues, my friends, other rectors of other Warsaw-based and other universities beyond Warsaw. Professor Krzysztof Zaręba from Warsaw University of Technology. Professor Piotr Wachowiak from Warsaw School of Economics. Professor Michał Zasada from Warsaw University of Life Sciences. Professor Zbigniew Gaciąg, Warsaw Medical University. Professor Klaudiusz Baran, Frederick Chopin University of Music. It's the University of Music, to make sure. But who knows, maybe in future it will be also a medical university. Also Reverend Professor Ryszard Czekalski, Cardinal Stefan Wyszyński University. Professor Roman Cieślak, Rector of SWPS University of Humanities and Social Sciences in Warsaw. Also Professor Błażej Ostoja-Lniski, Academy of Fine Arts in Warsaw. Professor Barbara Marcinkowska, Rector of the Maria Grzegorzewska Academy of Special Education. Let me welcome Archbishop Professor Jerzy Pańkowski, Head of the Christian Academy of Theology. Also Reverend Professor Krzysztof Pawlina from the Catholic Academy in Warsaw. Professor Grzegorz Mazurek, Rector of the Leon Koźmiński Academy in Warsaw. Also Professor Paweł Nowacki, Jerzy Paweł Nowacki from the Polish-Japanese Academy of Information Technology. Let me welcome Vice Rectors Bogusław Łazarz, Professor Bogusław Łazarz from the Silesian University of Technology. Let me welcome Professor Tomasz Plata, Vice Rector of the Aleksander Zelwerowicz Theatre Academy. Let me welcome Professor Jolanta Żyśko, Vice Rector of the Józef Piłsudski Academy of Physical Education. A warm welcome to Senior Brigadier Zdzisław Salamonowicz, Vice Rector of the Firefighters Academy. Also Professor Kazimierz Worwa, Vice Rector of the Jarosław Dąbrowski Military University of Technology, and Professor Jarosław Gryz, Vice Rector of the Academy of Military Art. Professor Wojciech Bik, Deputy Director of the Medical Center for Postgraduate Education, and Reverend Mateusz Gawarski, Rector of St. Anne's Academic Church. I'd like to welcome the rectors of the University of Warsaw of previous terms, represented by Professor Andrzej Kajetan Wróblewski, and Professor Katarzyna Hałasińska-Macukow. I would like to welcome former rectors of Warsaw universities, Professor Wiesław Bielawski from the University of Life Sciences, Reverend Professor Stanisław Dziekoński from the Wyszyński University, Professor Andrzej Eliasz, University of Social Sciences and Humanities, SWPS, and Professor Marek Krawczyk, Warsaw Medical University, Professor Stefan Kwiatkowski, Grzegorzewska University in Warsaw, and Professor Jan Schmidt, Warsaw University of Technology. Let me extend a warm welcome to former rectors and vice-rectors of the University of Warsaw, former deans of the University of Warsaw, and honoris causa doctorate holders from the University of Warsaw, represented by Professor Henryk Skarżyński and Professor Janusz Jurczak. Let me welcome the presidents of associations, museums, foundations, and scientific institutions, as well as cultural institutions, our partners. Let me also extend a particularly warm welcome of to the representatives of the Krybar grouping of the World Union of Home Army Soldiers, including the president of the association, Professor Jerzy Gaździcki. Thank you, Professor. Thank you to everyone for being here. I welcome all of you, members of the academic community of the University of Warsaw, members of the Senate, students, PhD students, employees, and friends of the university. I welcome also all of those who are watching us online. Thank you for being with us. As you may have noticed, last year we had a slightly longer list last year. Some of our colleagues have passed away, sadly. I would like to ask you now to rise and remember them with a minute of silence.
Bardzo Państwu dziękuję.
Thank you very much for
your attention and please take your seats. Let me take a sip of water before I start. Dear Speaker of the Polish Parliament, dear rectors, dear vice-rectors, dear presidents, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, members of the academic community of the University of Warsaw, and above all, you, my dear students. For now, you are candidates, but in a moment, you will be students of the University of Warsaw. As I mentioned in my introduction, every year we hold this festivity at the University of Warsaw and across other universities, across Poland, universities represented here by the rectors present in this room. Everyone is happy, everyone is smiling, everyone is cheerful, because you, the most important part of our university, you are the future of this university. You remain uncovered, you bring happiness, you bring youth to this university, and also bring hope to all of us, those who are present here and those who are watching us on live streaming, and those who are demonstrating outside of this building, and those who are not at the demonstration. This is the beauty of your part of academic life at this university, that you can come here, that we can meet you, and that together we can share the hope for the future. You come to the University of Warsaw, whose main feature is striving for the truth, searching for the truth, posing questions, critical approach, and opposing many of the current ideas, both in science and in socio-political life. And this is your right and duty to do that. Moreover, we are very happy and pleased that you are asking these questions and that you are constantly doubting, because in order to achieve success, in order to fulfill your dreams and hopes, you need to be these people, doubtful people. You come to a university which has been open across its history. We've been debating, we've been doubting, but on the other hand, we've been taking care of equality and ensuring equality, justice, tolerance, and above all, respect of one human being to other human beings. I firmly believe that you have opted for a place where you will not only be able to fulfill yourself and feel your own value, but also will feel the respect towards yourself and will pay the gratitude in respecting others, regardless whether you agree with certain concepts or ideas or not, or solutions. You may disagree, you may doubt, you may be critical. However, the most important thing for you is to respect each other. This is, in fact, one of our major achievements at the University of Warsaw and also across other universities. Despite hardships we endure, despite turbulences we are into, despite troubled seas and oceans, we are an island of calm. That is not to say that we not differ. We do differ, we do have different ideas, but we can discuss over these different ideas we are able to respect each other, discuss, even if we are discussing not in lecture venues, but also outside, using mass media for communicating our ideas, including electronic media, although we would prefer it to happen in the walls of the within the walls of the university. But freedom means that each one of us can have a different concept of freedom. That is why I'm firmly believed and convinced that you did the right thing. You have fulfilled our dreams, because we've been waiting for you. There were about 65,000 students applying to study at the University of Warsaw. We've been able to offer studies for about 16,000 young people. Therefore, may I say that in some fields, at least in some fields, you are the best of the lot. The medical faculty, which will start working, actually it has started working this morning, together in cooperation with our partners, they have 30 candidates per place. There are other fields of study at the University of Warsaw which enjoyed a highly competitive recruitment admission process, 25 people per one available seat. Even if we had 500, 600 places available for you, there were 7 times more, 6 times more students applying, people applying. This is only a testimony to the fact that you want to study in the university, that this is a place where people want to carry out their research, and the degree awarded by the University of Warsaw is respected in the labor market. I do hope that in the transforming world, whatever you wish to do and expect to do will be fulfilled by the University of Warsaw. You will be joining, my dear students, to a community of more than 40,000 students, more than 9,000 academic staff, and 12,000 cooperating teachers. That is why our community jointly numbers more than 60,000 people. This is a huge community, and you may ask yourself the following question: can this huge university be really a research university, an elite university when it comes to teaching, or whether the huge number of people admitted to studying here is not an obstacle to achieve that? As I said, you are the best of the lot. And so, it is obvious that nothing can stop us from becoming all of these things. Many people who have been working here have come through the same procedure 20, 30 years ago to become students, to become PhD candidates at the University of Warsaw. Therefore, we may say and conclude that by default, it is only the best of the lot who come to the best of the lot, to be trained by the best of the lot. We were wondering why the New York University, which has 65,000 people in its academic community, is a research university that belongs to one of the top 20 or top 30 universities in the world. We concluded, following the conversations with our friends from University of New York University, that one of the conditions for doing that is to have young people educated by specialists. And this is what we do at our university. You are in the right hands of our specialists. Our academic staff is proud that you are coming to this university. University of Warsaw will deliver an enormous opportunity for you also to study abroad. We have now about 1,100 contracts with different universities across the world, in the south, north, east and west of the world. Not only we believe that you will be able to study abroad, but we are eager for you to do that. Not only for one semester, but at least 2 semesters, and not only at a single university, but at 2 universities or even more higher educational institutions. As you know, we are in the midst of celebrations of the Copernicus year this year. Copernicus was an extraordinary person. We are pleased that he was one of us. Of course, he wasn't the University of Warsaw students. If the University of Warsaw was present at that time, he would have probably studied here. But we were established a few hundred years after that, after his life. But he should be a paradigm, a blueprint for you. Because he studied not only in Krakow, although this is a very important university center, but he also studied in Italy and in other places across Europe. He studied in many languages. He was a good doctor, an extraordinary mathematician, theologist, and also the Copernicus law is also vital for today's economics. Good money will be outcompeted by bad money. This is his law. So you should grasp this opportunity. You should educate yourself, and this background knowledge should be broadened in other universities across the world. And we'll do whatever we can to support you in this endeavor, including providing you with financial support. You may apply for scholarships as part of international agreements, and also as part of inter-university agreements concluded between University of Warsaw and other universities, which will offer you the opportunity to study. University of Warsaw will also provide you with other opportunities, and I want you to benefit from these opportunities. That is why you should be optimists about your life and world. We have concluded about 35 contracts with companies from Poland and internationally. Some of the presidents of the boards of these companies who are present here testify to this fact. They offer you some internships, practicums, and they also support in various shapes and by various means research. The research is extremely important. University of Warsaw has paid, continues to pay, and will continue to pay a lot of attention to research. Without good research, there is no good teaching process, and vice versa. You are coming to the University of Warsaw, which is the biggest grantee institution. We have more than 1,500 research programs, out of which 200 are being financed by the most demanding institutions across Europe and world, including the grants from the European Research Council. Last year, we obtained 9 grants of this sort. We count on you. We want you to work within these schemes, and we want them to be even more eminent. At the University of Warsaw, we have a grant funding for 450 million zlotys. At the Technical University of Warsaw, as its rector has explained, they have a bigger grant funding. And I was jealous when I was listening to it, because they have applicable research that is directly applied in the industry. We do have this R&D type of research. We'll be collaborating with industry because the world is transforming, is constantly in a mesh, and we need to work together. As individuals, we are nothing. That is why we need to elaborate labs, teams, task forces, research networks, not only extending throughout universities, but also extending their hands towards the industries. Recently, I had a lecture and I spoke about these things at Stanford University, and I was totally shocked to what extent this university is immersed in different networks. They have 17,000 students and about 5,000 academic staff, and their budget is about $8.4 billion, and their capital amounts to about 36,000 million US dollars. Grzegorz, we should probably give that colleague some water, right? Okay, so this means that we are all faced with many challenges. So maybe the next time we will be inspired by Technical University of Warsaw, where the young people are sitting because they are stressed out, and that is why they should be sitting next year, right? Okay, so you're coming to a place, a university, where we think a lot like this. There is a newspaper article written by Andrzej Koźmiński, our honoris causa doctor and former professor of the University of Warsaw. Our budget at the University of Warsaw, to compare it against the amounts I've just mentioned, about 2 billion. Out of these, 900 million zlotys are subsidies to sustain research and teaching potential. About 300 million are subsidies to maintain virtual libraries. 250 billions are allotted to investments. 450 millions are for grants and research projects, and about 200 millions are non-algorithmic subsidies obtained by the university out of our own initiative because of our teaching process or other means, other finances, funding that we obtain from various sources. This is our annual budget, and you'll be able to grasp these opportunities and to use this funding. Those of you who have a more entrepreneurial bent and will have some free time will be able to use business opportunities offered by the University of Warsaw. We have spin-off companies, 35 of them to be more precise. University of Warsaw, to conclude, what I didn't mention because of that small accident with water, is networking its position internationally and nationally. The best example is offered by quantum physics at our universities. At our university, we've built a certain network. So, we are one of the best faculty of physics nationally, and we offer the network, we extend this network to other universities who have physics faculties internationally and nationally. We offer postgraduate and we offered applied doctoral studies and conducted together with local authorities and relevant branches of industry. I think this is the right pathway for development. University of Warsaw is an enormous institution, is a huge institution. I mentioned the number of students studying here, and I also mentioned the number of academic staff who are full-time employed and cooperate with us. I mentioned also the other staff members, librarians, technical staff, etc. All these are necessary, vital. You will be welcomed here warmly by all these people who are empathetic, who want and are eager to help you out in many things. Sometimes there are some faults, there are some issues, and let me in advance apologize you for these insufficiencies. I am very pleased that in recent times we have had something which wasn't a good process, but because we had too small number of places at students' residences. Anyway, this all means that the University of Warsaw becomes once again a national a nationwide university, not merely a Warsaw university. Many people from outside Warsaw come. That is why we need to renew our students' residence base. We need to build more of them, and we need to also cooperate with other universities to provide you, the students, with relevant places. We are proud of our networking activities. We are proud of the fact that we are building a European university, which will also become part and parcel of your period here at university. We are building together with Heidelberg, Sorbonne, Milan, Copenhagen, Charles University and Geneva University. And I want you to be proud of the fact that you will, in a moment, become students of the University of Warsaw, because the 3,000 students that take place in the construction of this university study across the places I mentioned. And 70% of these go for studying at the University of Warsaw. Now is the time to boast about this with you, and now is also the time to thank my colleagues, my academic staff at the University of Warsaw, that they teach so well, so that other students from other universities I mentioned want to study here. I am pleased of this huge challenge, and also it shows potential and shows a lot of respect that University of Warsaw is enjoying. We are implementing issues related to the new strategy of the University of Warsaw, which has been drafted for the past year. The strategy, in a nutshell, I must say, it's adapted to the changing world. We don't want to be transformed by the world. We also need to be an agent in this process and shape the world. That is why you, and in accordance with the strategy, will be co-creating this world. That is why we are extending this offer to cooperate within the framework of green, open and smart university. Because these three things are the most important things in our contemporary world, or contemporaneous world. At our university, we have a well-developed scheme for Ukraine to the tune of 200 million zlotys. We have been using it for 15 or 20%. We have Ukrainian students and Ukrainian professors, but there is not enough of them. And we continue to be open to embrace them, because solidarity is also one of the core values of the University of Warsaw and other universities, especially those that are represented here in this hall. And that is why we want to share our knowledge, our skills, and our embracing of those who had encountered themselves in dire straits because of the war against Ukraine. That is why, over the course of your studies, we will be concluding the multi-annual investment program, which on the one hand serves to improve the conditions of your studies. Part of this has been implemented, actually, in terms of building the infrastructure, but also it serves to improve the quality of life. 2 new, freshly built student residences will be available in some years, and others will be refurbished. A month ago, we have received funding for the renovation of one of these student residences, because we received about 160 million zlotys for that purpose in bonds. That is to say, you need to discount the interest rate of 6%, so you'll be able quickly to calculate that. Anyway, this is the funding for the new for refurbishing students' residence. If we were to summarize what has happened at the University of Warsaw last year, and perhaps say a few words about the challenges faced by the University of Warsaw in the coming year. We would have to point to the most important thing, or one of the most important things, as creating, or rather reinstating, the Faculty of Medicine. We are very pleased that this has become a fact of life. We now have Faculty of Medicine, and from here I would like to thank to all these who have supported the return of the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Warsaw. And I'm thinking here in particular about the Senate of the University of Warsaw, the entire academic community of our university, and also the Senate, our Parliament, and also the Ministry of Healthcare, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finances, the City of Warsaw, and also the Warsaw Medical Institute, the Military Medical Institute, which has grasped this opportunity to cooperate with us. The Faculty of Medicine that has been set up at the University of Warsaw is one expression of the fact that despite the differences we may have on the approaches and ideas towards different things, we may do things together. As a rector of this university, I'm really proud, and I wish to thank to all these institutions that are represented by you, and I mentioned, and perhaps I haven't mentioned some of these. Anyway, I would like to thank to all this community for supporting us, because the Senate and the representatives of academic community have voted unanimously to set up this faculty. This will be a huge challenge. We will need to have an enormous intellectual potential from our natural sciences departments, humanities and social sciences departments. Will be inspired and grasping these opportunities. We need to cooperate with Warsaw-based hospitals, Warsaw-based university clinics. I mentioned the Military Medical Institute, but I'm also thinking here about other hospitals in Warsaw. And I do believe that we will succeed. Harvard Medical School has expressed its interest in cooperating with us, as did University of Oxford, or Oxford University, and all our European partners from the European university networks, and American universities and Asian universities have also expressed their willingness to cooperate with us. The second phenomenon, which is of particular benefit to the University of Warsaw, is our success of our colleagues in applying for major grant proposals. We have had 150 or so grants of this major kind. I cannot quote you specific sums, but in some cases these are huge amounts of money. And I'm really pleased for that, and I'm really pleased that our students and PhD candidates have been successful because they have managed to have their papers accepted by international conferences and major publications, but also they have won a lot of competitions, international competitions, mathematics, computer sciences, physics, chemistry, and also in humanities, linguistics, philologies, not to mention economics or management. And that is why I need to stress and tell you that university is in full swing. It's developing fully. No matter what faculty you've opted for, no matter which field you've opted for, you've did the right thing. And the deans, who are numerous in representation, want to see you, want to participate in this festivity, the celebration of the inauguration, and they came here to signal that you can study at their faculties. University offers about 250 fields of study and specializations, although the latter I'm not able to quote by numbers. This is a huge ritual asset. Each and all of you can find something for you and prosper. The Excellence Initiative Research University has just been evaluated by international experts. With this scheme, we get an additional boost to our funding of 10%, which allows us to intensify our research programs and allows us to get funding and mobilizes academic staff, PhD candidates and students to apply for these grants. We've had initial assessment from our international partners, and they were good assessments. This is a 6-year-long program. We are in the midst of it, and we hope that it will be extended for next years. I need to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I believe that our success was in getting funding from outside of state coffers. I know that oftentimes people do not like to talk about money, but these are crucial for development. We are striving to get as much money as possible. And we managed to get about 250 million zlotys last year. This allowed us, on the one hand, to boost our funding for research, but also it made it possible for us to support faculties and individual employees at the University of Warsaw from the funding that has been taken from the bank deposits, for example. That is why we were able to support academic staff with extra topping of their salaries, because there were no pay rises, so we were able to support this with these bonuses to the tune of 35 million zlotys. And another thing of which I'm really proud was the fact that we were awarded, or actually we were managed to award our academic staff because we were highly assessed with A+, with 8 faculties or 8 fields receiving A+ assessment grade and 4 newly created disciplines or fields receiving B+ category, and the rest of them receiving A category in the recent state evaluation. I would like to extend my gratitude to all these colleagues who have done whatever they could to achieve these high assessment. We are at the top of the ranking list of Polish universities and universities across Europe. That is why we feel that we need to strive for our dreams. So what are the basic challenges for us? I have jotted them down this morning, but I was thinking about them a lot. And I think we oftentimes discuss about these. In a nutshell, from the research standpoint, our challenges are simple. We need to deepen and broaden our academic endeavors, which would result in the final analysis with higher number of international papers and also patents, as we have the head of the Patents Office of the Republic of Poland with us. But also, we should get more citations with that. In order to do that, we need to continue to intensify our activities related to establishment of labs, including international labs, whose principal investigators would be our employees. And we have some merits in this field, and I do believe that we'll continue to do the good job of creating these labs. The second challenge is the growth and deepening in internationalization. And it's not only about student and PhD candidates exchange, but it's also about staff exchange. I believe, and I'm basing my judgment on the numbers I know, there is an insufficient number of Polish professors, and in particular from the University of Warsaw, who teach abroad. That is why we have adopted a scheme that will promote, financially support and promote these activities. We want the best of us to go abroad and to teach over the course of 1 or 2 semesters at that university. This is how we build the proper, good image of our university. And I here agree with the Technical University of Warsaw's vector, where in general, he says, we are very good, but we need more people to know about that. And also, dear students, it's all about your future. We want you to participate in these exchanges. We are very keen on you to go abroad to various places across the world, and we'll be supporting you in that. And one thing which seems quite daunting and is the subject of our debates, and we will have to continue discussing and debating about them, that is to say, extra funding for the University of Warsaw, and not only for us, but also, I believe, that at the National Conference of Academic Rectors, we'll be able to convince them to have joint activities and to actively convince the ministers to create this core capital I mentioned with the New York University, because we need to convince the ministry to do that. I am not so optimistic about that, but perhaps we could find the funding necessary for our universities and to get some extra funding from the outside. This is not an easy process. We have no time here to describe this process of establishing this core capital in detail, but we need to be inspired by American universities, and I was here talking about Stanford University, Harvard University, and Stanford. 22,000 students and employees have core capital of $34 billion US. At Harvard, it's $39 billion US at present. So they do not expend the capital, but actually they are spending only the fruits borne by this capital, the interests, for example. We need to have a scheme, a national scheme, to support research, to support scholarships, to support internships, to boost the funding for student residencies, to support all this that is not subject to continuous, non-discretionary funding. We do not here have in this hall the Minister of Finance, but perhaps we can have here people who will be representing the government, the future government following the parliamentary elections in mid-October, of whatever bent the government will be. We need to support, we need to strive to support with funding, with both discretionary and non-discretionary funding. So the taxpayers' money should be directed to higher educational institutions. Otherwise, we may have a problem of brain drain to industries, but also to other universities abroad who are better or worse than our university. And believe me, the level, academic level of our university's doctoral dissertations and MA dissertations is as good as the level at other universities. And I know it for a fact because for 8 or 9 years I have been teaching abroad, and at least half of this time I've been teaching in the top 15 world universities. That is why we do not want it to happen. We do not want this brain drain to happen, but we need to acknowledge this challenge. And the final challenge and task for the upcoming academic year and upcoming academic years is something I mentioned for a moment, the improvement of infrastructure for our students, for our PhD candidates. Thinking here about the DPN, the residences for doctoral students. The research initiative managed us to renovate a few rooms there, and we've managed to gain several dozens of millions of zlotys, but it will take 2 to 3 more years to accomplish this. At the same time, we are implementing what seemed to be an unsolvable challenge: to sustain, to renew, to renovate, and refreshment of our residences for holidays. The Kiri residence close to Zakopane is already refurbished, and we hope that our seaside center for holidays will be renovated this calendar year. The construction should start, because we are convinced that the university is a place where you work for many years, for decades, and even if you don't earn that much as we should be earning, we want our boss, the University of Warsaw, to offer us something extra, including the places to stay for holidays. That is why we want to refurbish them and continue to develop our hotel base there. And finally, something that I want to resonate with you, the intensification of international cooperation. This is also connected with the fourth Industry 4.0, digitalization, robotization, and artificial intelligence. These are the major tasks and challenges for us. And I'm not sure that each and one of you, including myself, are aware of the magnitude of this task. We've had the co-creator of the artificial intelligence, Sam Altman, together with his group. We've hosted him this year, and I was really impressed by him. And he was impressed by the University of Warsaw. In his core group of 7 people, he had 2 researchers at the University of Warsaw. One computer scientist, and also the other one who a fully fledged graduate of the University of Warsaw, and the other one who was graduated from postgraduate studies at the University of Warsaw and graduated from full-time studies at Technical University of Warsaw. This is difficult to grasp. The world is difficult to grasp, but we need to grasp it. Artificial intelligence involves challenges related to the degrees and the papers we write. We may have a situation where in a few hours dissertations will be drafted by artificial intelligence. We need to be aware of that. At many places, at many conferences, people pose the question and debate about the truth. Is this a truthful text, the text co-written by artificial intelligence? Could that be acceptable in our academia? At our Senate's meeting, one of our colleagues from the Faculty of Mathematics have raised this issue. We are working on that, but it's not enough. We need to have a fully fledged system and thought out idea of how to teach, how to conduct our lectures, and how to assess our students. This wonderful young man has presented us with a concept that is hair-raising, even though you may not have hair on your head. He said, MA studies no longer than 2 semesters, BA studies no longer than 3 semesters, and doctoral studies should last no longer than 4 semesters. And you may agree with that or not, but this is not a mere vision. This is backed by funding, a lot of funding, that this bunch of youngsters got, several dozens of billions of dollars. And I know that they will not be able to revolutionize and transform the entire world. But in my modest opinion, humble opinion, this is a real, genuine problem. As we invited Sam Altman to the University of Warsaw, since we fixed the agenda, in 6 hours we had him. And in this particular room we had 1,500 people listening to him and 20,000 people following us over live stream. this is connected with networking and other issues I've mentioned already. So this may concern other fields that are imparted, provided by our university and other universities represented here by our dear guests. University of Warsaw is working on that challenge. My dear members of academic community, dear students, you are warmly welcome to take part in all these programs. I am pleased that you come with open heads open for debates, and I know that many of you have been winners of prestigious competition in mathematics, in Polish language, in physics, in philosophy, and others. I know that you have your dreams to develop. I know that you hope for a better future. I know that you will be part and parcel, an important part of our academic community at the University of Warsaw. That is why I extend my warm welcome on behalf of all of us who are present here and dozens of thousands of people who should watch us over the live streaming. Thank you for choosing this university, and I do believe that together we may solve all the challenges pertinent to this epoch, and that you will be able to implement your dreams, and that the future lies in front of us and in front of you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you. I forgot to welcome Professor Marek Rękas, Colonel Professor Marek Rękas, an excellent guest, an excellent doctor. Marek, please do not take it as a sign of disrespect, because the round of applause that you have received now is well deserved, and they're welcome as well. So thank you once again, and apologies for not remembering to welcome you in the main part. Now we will be going on to a very significant part of this ceremony, because after this part happens, you will officially become students of the University of Warsaw. This part is obviously the matriculation. I will now ask the Vice Rector Sławomir Żółtek to host this part of the ceremony. The floor is yours. Thank you, Rector. Please rise. I shall now read the text of the oath. I solemnly swear that I will pursue the acquisition of knowledge and the development of my personality. I swear that I will respect academic laws and customs, and that I will take care of the dignity and honor of a student of the University of Warsaw with my entire conduct. Thank you. I will now ask Rector to hand in
studentkom I studentom studiów pierwszego I drugiego stopnia oraz jednolitych studiów magisterskich.
students index books, to hand in students index books to the following students of undergraduate and MA studies: Nadir Amin Hassan Abdelati from the Faculty of Archaeology, Aleksandra Ciurlej, Faculty of Arts, Liberales, Julia Suchodolska, Faculty of Biology, Julia Bogdańska, Faculty of Chemistry, Wiktoria Kaszubowska, Faculty of Journalism, Information and Book Studies, Julia Lesińska, Faculty of Philosophy, Barbara Pinkowska, Faculty of Geography and Regional Studies, Laura Szwiec, Faculty of Geology, Zofia Skassa, Faculty of History, Denis Babayev, Faculty of Applied Linguistics, Weronika Mierzanowska from the Faculty of Mathematics, Informatics and Mechanics, Karina Jagielska from the Faculty of Medicine, Anastasia Albatieva, Faculty of Economic Sciences, Victoria Rynkun, Faculty of Culture and Arts, Michał Goch, Faculty of Political Sciences and International Studies, Mateusz Walczyk from the Faculty of Modern Languages.
Dziękujemy. Proszę zająć miejsce.
Thank you. You can now take your seats.
Poproszę Państwa. Pani Wiktorii Werelik z Wydziału Orientalistycznego, Pani Marii Mich z Wydziału Pedagogicznego, Pani Antoninie Stępińskiej z Wydziału Polonistyki, Panu Szymonowi Ćwilichowi z Wydziału Prawa i Administracji,
Studies. Szymon Ćwiluch, Faculty of Law and Administration, Zuzanna Sosnowska, Faculty of Sociology, Marcin Kłos, Faculty of Applied Social Sciences and Resocialization, Angelika Wypustek from the Faculty of Management, Julia Kowalczyk from the Center for Europe at the University of Warsaw, Natalia Kowalska, Center for Foreign Language Teaching, Training and European Education at the University of Warsaw, Emilia Łagowska, Center for Forensic Studies, Jakub Najman, Interdisciplinary Center for Mathematical and Computational Modeling, Emilia Płaczkiewicz, University Center for Environmental Studies and Sustainable Development, Aleksandra Schneider, Interfaculty Individual Studies in Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Agata Momot, Interfaculty Individual Studies in the Humanities and Social Sciences. Now, we will perform the matriculation of our doctoral students.
Szanowni Państwo, proszę o powstanie.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Analogicznie odczytuję rotę ślubową.
In an analogous way, I will read the rota and then we will take the oath. The text is as follows. I solemnly swear that I will persistently pursue the acquisition of knowledge and the development of my personality. I swear that I will respect academic laws and customs and that I will take care of the dignity and honor of a doctoral student at the University of Warsaw with my entire conduct. I will ask now Rector to hand in the congratulation letters and index books to our doctoral students. The following students shall receive the documents. Wiktoria Makowska, Archaeology, Agnieszka Nawara, Philosophy, Wiktoria Gerasimova, History, Marta Klimczak-Uzdowska, Linguistics, Joanna Piechura-Veliczenko, Literary Studies, Michał Jagosz, Arts Studies, Joanna Kaniewska, Culture and Religion Studies. From the Doctoral School for Exact and Natural Sciences, Jakub Kowalski, Biological Sciences, Piotr Michalak, Chemical Sciences, Oskar Stachowiak, Physical Sciences, Daniel Murawski, Mathematics, Pinaki Roy, Astronomy, Bogusz Kulus, Earth and Related Environmental Sciences, Marcin Mielniczuk, Computer Science. from the Doctoral School for Social Sciences, Katarzyna Skrzypek, Economics and Finance. Jan Goliński, Social and Economic Geography and Spatial Management. Marcin Żółtowski, Security Studies. Katarzyna Jarzyńska, Communication and Media Studies. Karolina Więckiewicz, Political Science and Public Administration. Anita Głuszek, Management and Quality Studies. Barbara Błaszczak, Law. Karolina Mosquera-Vera, Sociology. Martyna Popławska, Education. Maciej Górski, Psychology. And Mikołaj Martyca, Interdisciplinary Doctoral School. Thank you. Well, now, according to the agenda, we have the choir, Gaudem Mater Polonia. Please rise.
Bardzo dziękuję. Proszę Państwa o zajęcie
Thank you. Please return to your seats or take your seats. Now, the floor goes to the representative of the students, Aleksander Hebda, President of Students' Government at the University of Warsaw. President, the floor is yours. Your Magnificence, rectors, senators, distinguished guests, ombudsman, Mrs. President, members of the academic community, students. It is probably not the best shape that I've been in because I am slightly ill, but I will try my best to deliver this speech well.
największy zaszczyt
It is a great
w
honor,
dotychczasowym życiu.
probably the highest honor that I have experienced in my life, to be able to speak to you. And this honor I owe to the University of Warsaw, the university that opens up so many opportunities to all of us. Today, when we are celebrating the opening, the inauguration of the academic year, when we are celebrating the start of your studies, dear colleagues, dear fellow students, please know that studies are the best time for you to discover yourselves, the best time for you to challenge the reality, the best time for you to seek the truth, to use this time of your life best. Do not forget about other aspects of life other than just learning. You will learn, you will get to know your friends, you will get to know your partners, maybe business partners, maybe life partners, maybe people with whom you will conduct research. Get to know yourselves, get crazy at times, be engaged socially. Of course, I will be constantly inviting you to be active in the self-government, in student self-government, but we offer a lot more at the university. Sports, research circles, NGOs, where you will be able to work for the community and gain experience and build your network as well. It's important to talk about some important issues for the academic community. The burning issue of the social situation of students. In particular, the lack of places in dormitory and issues related to the recruitment. I would like every student beginning their studies at the University of Warsaw to have this comfortable space for learning without worries. Where am I going to stay? Where am I going to live? What am I going to eat? Such worries should not be the problem for new students. We should not have a model where students must take up employment to survive their studies, because welfare is, and the welfare state is about that as well. It is about educating excellent people, excellent graduates who will help our country grow in the future. I am very happy that His Magnificence the Rector understands that and also drew our attention to that in his speech. Another challenge, another huge challenge, is psychological counseling for students. We are struggling to develop this area in the country. We want psychologists and psychiatrists to be available for all students. We are trying to develop a center for psychological counseling for students. We want this university to be the most pleasant place for students it can be. We want it to be also a place that offers venues where you are able to simply take a rest during the day, where you can heat up your food that you brought from home and eat it in a nice and cozy atmosphere. This is not the only zone. We are creating one zone on the main campus, but we will be working on further zones, relaxation zones like that. We are collaborating with the authorities, with the rectors on that. Another issue is the library and the operation, 24/7 operation of the library. We have done a lot of work. Vice Rector Sławomir Żółtek and the Vice Rector Włodko put in excellent effort to make this happen. We know that many students learn best at night, and that was one of the aims where I started my work, to make this happen. Also, please note that on the website of our government, students' government, we have a questionnaire where you can indicate the key areas for us to deal with, and then we will look at those areas and we'll be starting to tackle them. Moving on, I think studies is an excellent time of your life. The ups and the downs, both of them teach us something. I hope that for all of you it will be a great period of time, and I hope that you will be at least half as grateful to the institution as I am after my studies. And also, a piece of advice, keep your correspondence with university administration on the formal side. They like it. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo, panie przewodniczący.
Thank you,
Proszę teraz o
President.
zabranie głosu przedstawicielkę
Now the floor goes to the representative of PhD students, Martyna Dudziak-Kisio, Deputy President of Self-Government of Doctoral Students at the University of Warsaw. The floor is yours. Your Magnificence, Rectors, Vice-Rectors, the High Senate of the University of Warsaw, distinguished guests of this ceremony. And most of all you, future PhD students, or students who are embarking on their PhD studies now, welcome to the best university in Poland. Congratulations on this huge feat, a huge success of being approved as a PhD students at the University of Warsaw. It is today, at this very special moment, you are starting your studies. 4 years ago, doctoral schools were launched and faculties no longer were responsible starting from then for the education of PhD students. And last academic year, the first graduates of those doctoral schools received their degrees, and to all of those who received those degrees successfully, congratulations. Congratulations and thank you on your research projects. Thank you for co-creating, co-forging our academic community. We are now richer with these experiences from the last 4 years. We have been able to evaluate those 4 years. The doctoral schools proposed by the Senate and then the curriculum changes proposed by the Senate will be becoming binding starting from this year. The key asset of this new system is cross-disciplinarity. We are now taking a step further. It is about creating strong links with faculties, with respective faculties. So we have now 2 strong legs to stand on, learning in depth about the discipline, but also opening our minds to other fields, other disciplines in the spirit of interdisciplinarity. Also, it's about tight collaboration with supervisors who become mentors of young researchers. We are lucky to be guided not only by heads of doctoral schools, we are also guided by our well-functioning and well-oiled administration. Dear PhD students, what's ahead of you is opportunities that are often not offered at other universities in Poland. The University of Warsaw takes part in the Polish nationwide program for young researchers, and we will be continuously evaluating that program to evaluate its efficiency. Also, as part of this program, you are not PhD students, but actually you are treated as researchers who can also apply for funding and grants for their research. They can also publish in the best journals, and they can internationalize their career right at the very start. The program that I mentioned puts challenges ahead of us, but a lot of opportunities as well. Last year, TEDx Universities was about PhD researchers. It was about updating them from the point of view of research and seeing how they are embarking on research. It is a true honor to welcome you on behalf of the doctoral community, more than 1,500 young researchers at this university. Please remember that this self-government, student self-government, is created and made up by all of us. Be active in it. We are active in the doctoral forum of all Polish universities, and we collaborate on a national and international scale with other doctoral students. We will do our best to help you if you have any queries, any questions. We also encourage you at this point to become engaged in our community at all levels. because there is no better place to learn about the university network than the government, students of governments. You will be associated with this university for the minimum of next 4 years. Remember that our voice is heard. We are represented in the Senate. The Senate's committees have our representatives as well, and also we collaborate with faculties. Our voice is recognized. Our presence is recognized as well. To be able to continue our effort, we need you to be engaged in the life of your faculties, of your smaller PhD student circles, and by working this way we will be able to keep the first position in Poland that we have currently, and we will be able to also get better results in international ranking. A good start to your integration in the community is the Welcome Week that we organized, or using the PhD space at the library, where there is a coffee machine to witness the integration of PhD students. As mentioned before, the library is open 24/7 this year. Good news for those who are night owls. In the 21st century, communities are also forged online, so please do follow our social media, Instagram and especially on Facebook. To finish off, I wish all of you and all of us the building or the creation of a truly engaged and a truly tightly knit academic community. I wish all of you academic success, research success, and I hope that you will use the opportunity that your alma mater offers to you. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo, Pani Przewodnicząca.
Thank you, President.
Chciałem Pani, na ręce Pani, także samorządowi doktorantów.
And to the government, to the students' governments, I would like to say a word of thanks. Thank you for your collaboration with us. Sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it's tough, but we, I think, are going in the right direction. And for that, I thank you.
Panu Przewodniczącemu i samorządowi studentów.
Of course, these thanks go to both PhD students' government and students' government, undergraduate students' government. You are difficult, sometimes difficult, demanding, but very good partners in working together for the benefit of the university. Having said this, I can now declare officially this new academic year, 2023-2024, open at this university, the University of Warsaw.
Dziękuję bardzo. Dziękuję Państwu bardzo.
Thank you.
Teraz poproszę Pana Profesora
Thank you.
Hieronima
Now I will
Grala
ask Professor Hieronim Grala
wykład
to deliver his
okolicznościowy. Panie profesorze,
special
czekaliśmy na to.
lecture. Professor, we have been waiting for this lecture, and the floor is yours. Magnificence, Honorable Senate, distinguished guests, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear colleagues. The topic of my presentation today is dictated by the reality. Unpredictable past is what I will be talking about. It's about history and political history. Where did I take this topic from? Where did that come from? You may smile when you hear that an old Polish anecdote actually made me think of this topic. It's an anecdote about the royal jester, Stańczyk. During a political debate in Poland, during this political debate that we are facing now, I simply remembered the case of that jester, the jester to the Jagiellonian kings in Poland. And the jester claimed at one point that the medic was the most important profession in Poland. And that he based on his experience when he had a wrap around his neck. Everybody was trying to give him advice in the street. Everybody considered them medics. And when we recall that in the context of today's reality, I think that the jester today, if he commented on today's reality, he would probably say that everybody wants to be not a medic, but a historian who's deep into history and interpreting the only possible version of history for others. The ancient maxim, historia, history, magistra vitae, indicates that mankind has for millennia appreciated the importance of the past, not only the lived past, but also the past that has been thought through. The understanding of the essence and the importance of historical memory has resulted in the emergence of official historiography, dynastic historiography or church historiography. We can trace this phenomenon back to antiquity. And here we might add it has also had its consequences for historical memory itself. Damnatio memoriae is a good example and a good proof of that. Such measures, however, have had limited effectiveness over centuries, over millennia actually, primarily because of the limited circulation of the written word and then the printed word. The official or institutional historical memory was frequently supplemented or sometimes even replaced by oral tradition. Mickiewicz said, "Oh, news, the word of mouth, you link the history and the present." This phenomenon was particularly strong, especially when the key sources of historical memory, the national memory, were the literature and religion. The notion itself of historical policy, or Geschichtspolitik in German, or the politics of memory, the policy of memory, and strengthening the public discourse of the past dates back to the Middle Ages. We can go back to Christian Meyer's definition. The phenomenon of political memory, which is realized by all means accessible by the state and treated as the binding or the only acceptable interpretation of the history, it seems to be prevalent throughout history, even earlier than the Middle Ages. The actual creator of political history actually, it's only the totalitarian states that have been able to implement this notion with their control mechanism, with their full control mechanism and political and cultural policy, as well as censorships. Of course, the experience of the Third Reich and Soviet Russia come to our memory when we talk about that. They were making very good use of new media with film or movies at the forefront. Lenin said about film and movie making that movie making is the most important of the arts. The comparison of those two models leads us to an interesting conclusion. While the German case was based on a consistent nationalist narrative, and it was based on the evidence, on collecting the evidence for the thesis of the historical mission of the Herrenvolk, it was impossible to change the general course of action according to that theory. It was only permissible to enrich it with some new additional elements. In this organized and structured process, the erudite sphere was of significant importance as well. So the importance of historical memory, obviously vassalized historical memory, was also not insignificant. And now the second example, the Soviet reality was quite varied. The essence of it was the coexistence of several parallel models of domestic history. But it was used in an utilitarian way for immediate purposes. A flagship example of that are the adventures of what happened actually to Sergei Eisenstein's famous film Alexander Nevsky. The film was a manifesto of the fight against German expansion, but it was made to the order of the authorities in parallel with the preparations for the negotiations with the Third Reich, which resulted in the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. It is worth remembering that the preparation or the making of the film was preceded by a gigantic effort of official historiography. Some scholars protested, but there weren't many of them. It was similar in the case of the academic debate on the role of Ivan the Terrible, and he, of course, tried to forge an ideological alibi for the aggression on the 17th of September. The collapse of the Third Reich put an end to the German model, but the Soviet one persisted. Well, it did with significant modifications. It was mostly about the Brezhnev's epoch of stasis, of that negative stability. Until the collapse of the USSR, the ideological division of the ruling Communist Party in Soviet Russia never gave up its control over historical science, and it never gave up its attempts to manually control scientific research in general. And then the Soviet Union collapsed, and Russia was preoccupied with itself mostly. It struggled with the successive stages of socio-economic transformation. It left historiography behind, which soon led to an unprecedented increase in public interest in the discipline, and also strengthening its position. Concurrent with the perestroika, some scholars who had been regarded as propagandists, they suddenly became the holders of the truth. The bishops of the new tradition being reborn, of the old traditions being reborn, allegedly, they enjoyed huge social trust. The disoriented society expected from those scholars the answers to the questions that they weren't able to pose themselves. And it was in that reality that the model materialized of the historical truth as the teacher of life, an antidote to previous era Soviet indoctrination. It was supposed to restore the true heroes to the society and also protect the society from the old mistakes being made over and over again. The control of the state over historical memory was no longer, the state was no longer the only unit responsible for the control of that historical memory. The church took on that role as well. And In quantitative terms, it was a truly booming period for that historical memory. Concurrently, there were very many contradictory models, from the Orthodox Soviet model through the nationalist model to negationism even. And it seems that this lesson was not without its consequences. The necessity to take up action leading to a unified historical awareness of the Russian society became a sine qua non condition of efficient internal policy in Russia. In order to make that assumption come true, it was necessary to achieve those social instruments, legal instruments, institutional tools, institutional measures. What was necessary was also to implement certain activities within the education system. And it was also important to set certain main paradigms in that varied society. The Russian unity, the place in the tradition of the Orthodox Church, and the role of the Russian language as a means to educate about civilization. At the same time, it was deemed important to take preventive action against anybody who criticized that approach. It was necessary to control any independent thought centers like the Memorial Association and other NGOs that dealt with the history of Russia and interpretation of history. After the Yeltsin era of turbulence, Putin took over the power. He was surrounded by the technocrats and the technologists of politics who understood the role of historical memory as a powerful tool to impact the society and the feelings of the society. Putin was joined by the Orthodox Church and even by the liberals, and it turned out that all the institutions were vassalized, all the science institutions and research institutions were vassalized, and the meaning and importance of academic research was diminished by multiplying those para-scientific, para-research institutions forged by the state. After Perestroika and after Yeltsin's era, at the beginning of Putin's era, what became prevalent was the control of the state actors of this historical memory. Even though it didn't seem to be an easy task, it turned out to be possible also because the society was simply tired. It was simply exhausted by the huge cost of the transformation, of the economic transformation that Russia was undergoing. And the growing nostalgia, people missing the communist era, missing the political might of the former USSR. And in that situation, that reference to the history of the Soviet Union was supposed to be a set of resources for the state authorities to convince the society that they are the ones to restore the power and to restore its standing in the world.
That is why they needed a patriotic and imperialist narrative, which disregarded not only historical truth, but also which eagerly sacrificed it at the altar of propaganda for immediate effects. That is why the past became the field of confrontation and collective memory the object of huge manipulations, and historical policy became an arm of politics. The then, or the contemporary state of historical memory is characterized by Mikhail Zadornov, who said, Russia is an enormous state with an unpredictable past. The authorities of the contemporary Russia prepared for this battle over memory with diligence. The members of Kremlin elite disdain perestroika and the decade of Yeltsin, where many documents and archives were disclosed and sources were published, where the hunger for historical knowledge seemed to be paramount and seemed to be at the national urgent necessity. And the publishing market, freed from the straitjacket of censorship, provided access to an unprecedented level of knowledge about the past. However, what for the liberals and progressive intelligentsia and for our university colleagues, what seemed to be the historic conquest for them, their opponents treated as a symptom of anarchy and an attack against traditional Russian values. During the period of the Reconquista adopted by the Russian state, they used the earlier Soviet experiences. The propagated version of historical memory became multifaceted, dependent upon the current political goals. This tendency, tried and tested in internal policy, suddenly became less and less efficient in foreign policy, as testified by the failure of the idea of the Russian mir, the Russian world concept, which we can trace to 2012, that is to say, the time when when Putin became once again the president of Russian Federation. And it accelerated over the course of the last 2 years, and as a result, Russian historical policy bears responsibility for the aggression and for the outburst of nationalist mood within the society. These activities are seen at all levels, from school curricula and social activities, such as the immortal unit of military from the Great Patriotic War, right to the governmental scheme that corrupt academic and university communities, such as the history of Crimea and Little Russia, etc. All this is an unprecedented phenomenon when it comes to the science, making the science of history. The unprecedented attempts at falsifying history to achieve the propagandistic end became visible in relation to the Ukrainian crisis. In the past, Russian unity was placed at the forefront of the rhetoric of community, but now we have the language of confrontation and the accusation, or rather a catalogue of accusations of what has been perceived up until very recently as a brother nation. Therefore, Ukrainians are replaced by Little Russians. The description applied during the Tsarist period. By doing so, the neighboring nation was reduced to an underdeveloped nation, its language to dialogue and its state aspirations are caricatured. You can multiply these examples at will, but of course we are time-bound, so we will not do that. Therefore, what we deal with today is an unscrupulous attempt at manipulating history without any decorum, without even a facet care for the craft of historian. Depending on the present-day political goals, history is not rewritten, but written from scratch, here and now. The new versions of history, sometimes changing as in kaleidoscope, they quickly become the binding dogma. Moscow locuta, causa finita. And no one is preoccupied by the fact that these truths may be mutually exclusive. The past is treated as a cabinet with a whole number of documents, and in a given moment we are drawing whatever suits the interests of the state and the propaganda. The case in point is the so-called Petersburg turn. 20 years ago, when the most pro-European and global event was held in Russia, the 300th anniversary of St. Petersburg, Vladimir Putin explained that Northern Russia is the ambassador of Europe in Russia and also the ambassador of Russia in Europe. More than 20 years later, the official dogma is constituted by the patriarch of all Russia, Kirill, who explains that Peter I built his new Venice as a bulwark against the attempts on the part of rotten West, which is supposed to be an unsurmountable barrier for what is anti-Russian, what is hostile to Russia. The turbulences in regard to the unified history textbook in Russia, which doesn't follow the turbulences regarding the contemporary history of the narrative. See the recent conflict of Ramzan Kadyrov and the minister Medvedev. And the change is dictated by the will of the citizen number one of the Russian Federation, which actually I think enjoys being a historian and the president at the same time. And he compares his personal involvement in shaping the past. And when we actually compare him against Stalin in this respect, we may conclude that the intellectual background of the Tiflis seminar from the Tsarist epoch was much better than that of the graduate of the Faculty of Law from the St. Petersburg University and the active member of KGB. It goes without saying that the politician is dependent on, that historical institutions are dependent on the politicians. And obviously, he is reliant on his backers. And his court clique demonstrates very weak preparation for any kind of historical reflection, not to mention moral qualities. However, it is symptomatic that in this camarilla, it is very hard to pinpoint any meaningful representatives of Russian academia, Russian science. This allows us to conclude that scientists, members of the academia, do not want to be identified with this historical policy, and that the clique doesn't trust the academia. To conclude, A more general remark. Let me share a more general remark. Up until now, we've been talking about Russia, because this is a case in point. The contemporary Russian state is a state with unpredictable past, which is sort of compulsory in rewriting every now and then its past. But this is a warning to all of us. And this case should not obscure some problems that are faced nowadays in many other countries of our continent and region. Fortunately, not to the same extent as in Russia. It seems that the temptation to have history on the bandwagon of politics have become tentable or sensed by political elites. Testimony to this is that state institutions are called into life, separate institutes, named after a very honorable and distinguished person are called to life. However, the voices of the learned, the scholars and the academia are ignored when calling into life these institutions. Therefore, the adjective historical becomes a proverbial fig leaf for politics or politicking. Therefore, perhaps it's time to revert this tendency and to acknowledge, to paraphrase Winston Churchill's thought on military and on generals and war, to acknowledge that historical policy is too serious to be left to politicians. Ladies and gentlemen, the nations deprived of their memory die out. However, the nations whose memory is artificially modified rot. Historical policy, this official institutionalized policy abused by authorities for their ad hoc purposes, utilitarian purposes, becomes not a means to communicate with the nation, but rather a substitute for historical truth. The temptation to raise the authority of one's own nation and to use the past as the banner under which compatriots should rally is particularly dangerous for those nations whose state being has been interrupted and those who are constantly avoiding getting into grips with the complex nature of one's own past. In that cases, the spirit of history, the spirit of national history, instead of being a Prometheus or Phoenix for compatriots, is likely to become a Frankenstein. And it is here, in these walls, where more than 50 years ago, I started to participate as a student in lectures of extraordinary historians and enlightened citizens with Alexander Gielisztor at the forefront. I wanted to say the following: the vaccine against this dangerous disease, even we can call it the pandemic, is in our hands. The vaccine is truth and academic imperative, sine ire et studio. And this has a particular meaning. A representative of the academia, member of Universitas community, cannot hide into their own ivory tower, faced with half-truths and manipulation. He or she is duty-bound to testify to the truth. He is duty-bound to share the vaccine they have. That is to say, to be present at our contemporary agora. Every scholar and every citizen is duty-bound and to do that, and no one will be able to exempt us from fulfilling this duty. Thank you very much for your attention.
Dziękuję panie profesorze.
Thank you very much,
Oklaski
Professor.
świadczą o wszystkim.
I think this applauses, round of applauses, says everything. Thank you very
Szanowni
much,
państwo,
Professor.
zbliżamy się ku
Ladies and
końcowi.
gentlemen, we are coming to the close of this
Jest planem, jest napisane, że
celebration.
zamykam uroczystość
In
inauguracji.
my
Następnie jeszcze
guide,
chór zaśpiewa Gaudeamus.
I have the closing ceremony and the choir singing Gaudeamus, but let me tell you before I do that at the website you can read
Jest ich kilkanaście, przeczytam z kolei.
congratulatory letters. Let me mention them. President of the Republic of Poland, Andrzej Duda,
Marszałek Sejmu,
Marshal of the Sejm, Elżbieta Witek,
marszałek Senatu RP,
Marshal of the Senate, Professor Tomasz Grodzki, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki,
Mateusz Morawiecki, prymas Polski,
Primate of the Republic of Poland, Archbishop Wojciech Polak, Minister of Science and Education, Professor Czarnek, President of the Social Institution Office, Gertruda Uścińska, Rafał Trzaskowski, Mayor of Warsaw, Rector of the Jagiellonian University, Professor Jacek Popiel, Rector of the Catholic Lublin University, Reverend Professor Malinowski, Rector of the University of Maria Skłodowska-Curie, Professor Dobrowolski, Rector of the Warmia-Mazury University, Professor Jerzy Przyborowski, Rector of the Kazimierz the Great University, Professor Woźniak, Rector of Jan Kochanowski University, Professor Stanisław Urzek, Ambassador of the Republic of Poland at the Holy See, Mr. Adam Kwiatkowski, President of the Conference of the Academic Rectors of Polish Schools, Professor Arkadiusz Mężyk, and the head of the Main Council of Medical Institutions, Professor Henryk Skarżyński. All these congratulatory letters can be consulted on our website.
Zanim powiem
Before I conclude this celebration, before I give the last word that I'm finishing off this celebration, let me tell you that once you'll be leaving, you will see the youth protesting on your right. This youth doesn't come only from the University of Warsaw, but it comes from other universities, your universities.
Natomiast uniwersytetem jest
However,
otwarty.
our university, the university as such is open. If they want to protest, I've received some photos. They want have improvements in conditions at the students' residence, lowering the fees for student residences, and they want equality. This is what can be read on the posters. And I think it's easier to be rector than vice rector, so perhaps I could ask Sławek to invite them for talks. And should there be any need, I will also come, but I will accompany you first. Well, that's how things are. The youth needs to present their point of view. And this is for them the right place because of so many distinguished guests. As I was welcoming Krzysztof Pietrasiewicz, the head of the Polish bank unions. Thank you for coming, Krzysztof. Therefore, I am hereby concluding today's celebration of the inauguration of the academic year 2023-2024, and I ask the choir to sing Gaudeamus, and I ask all of you to rise.
Gaudeamus igitur iuvenestum sumus, Gaudeamus
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you very much, my dear choir. You are a part of this celebration and an important one.
Bardzo dziękuję.
Thank you very much.
wszystkim państwu.
Thanks to all of you and each of you individually for coming to today's celebration. And I invite all of you to a glass of wine and a snack
Przekąszenia do Pałacu
to
Kazimierzowskiego.
the Kazimierzowski
Wszyscy są
Palace.
zaproszeni. Dziękuję bardzo.
Everybody is invited.
Co najlepsze.
And all the best to all of you. Thank you very much.